So Copernicus comes, he does his work, he does a great job, he reminds people that the sun is the center of the solar system and the earth revolves around the sun. This is important because if you have the wrong frame of reference, you will never get to the right answer. Then a man by the name of Galileo Galilei comes, and we're going to have a whole module about him. He influences the work of Isaac Newton. Galileo and Kepler lived before Newton, and there were other key people like René Descartes, Blaise Pascal, and then of course the other two that I've mentioned. They laid the groundwork for what was to come. We have Copernicus, Galileo, Kepler, René Descartes, Blaise Pascal, and then in 1642, on Christmas Day, Isaac Newton is born. Isaac Newton was born on Christmas Day of 1642, which was the year that Galileo died. And Newton is famous for saying that if I have seen further, it's because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. Who were the giants that Newton was talking about? He was talking about Galileo, Kepler, and Copernicus. And of course, a lot of other people. Descartes played a huge role in Newton's life. Euclid played a huge role in Newton's life. Of course, you have to understand Euclidean geometry to understand some of the things. And Euclid lived around the time of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Let's pick it up from Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton came to the scene, went to Cambridge University in 1661, and Newton changed the world. From 1664 to 1666, they had a plague. And during this time, Newton had to go home and improve on his math skills and other things. Well, he had to go home. He didn't want to get sick, of course. And so he went home. And during this time, Newton was sitting in his garden, which you can see. I went to Cambridge and then I went over to his house in Woolstrop in England. And you can look at the videos showing part of his house, right? Newton's house till today is a museum. You can go there. I can take you there if you want. And Newton basically was able to show that in order to understand the universe well, you needed the calculus. In order to understand why planets behave the way they did and why apples fall down and things like that happen is because of this thing called gravity and has to do with mathematics. Let's pick it up with Leibniz. Thank you so much. We're getting there, guys. Leibniz comes to the scene. He's also the co-founder of the calculus. So Newton and Leibniz were contemporaries. Leibniz is from Germany. We're going to go visit his city as well on our tour when we start doing our education tourism in 2026, God willing. So we're going to look at Leibniz's work and then Newton. They both discovered the calculus independently, and because of their work, it opened the doors for the greatest scientists that the world has ever known. Think about that for a second. The greatest scientists that the world has ever known are scientists and mathematicians that lived after the calculus was invented. So, we get Leibniz and Newton, and the baton exchange happens when Euler comes to the scene. Leonhard Euler is my favorite mathematician. He is the best. He is exceptional. He is prolific. He published 50 papers as a blind mathematician. So Euler comes to the scene, and then Euler basically lays the groundwork for a lot of other things that we do in mathematics. But towards the end of Euler's life, there's a guy called Carl Friedrich Gauss who was born in 1777 and lived for 77 years. And Carl Friedrich Gauss basically laid the groundwork for a lot of things that we teach today in mathematics and physics. So we have Euler and we have Gauss, right? So these guys were part of we call them the greatest mathematicians ever, Euler and Gauss. But Newton is also on that list. But when Gauss comes in 1777, Euler is coming to the end of his life. So notice that Newton dies in 1727. Euler is born in 1707. So Euler and Newton lived for about, 20 years, both of them alive. And then Newton dies. And then Euler lives till 1783. And Gauss is born. And Gauss wanted to read Euler's book, Elements of Algebra, which all our students get to read. So basically, Gauss reads Elements of Algebra. And then Gauss basically becomes one of the greatest. He was a prodigy though. And after Gauss comes the last leg of our tour of the 12 men that changed the world. Michael Faraday, James Clerk Maxwell, Albert Einstein. These people changed the world. We'll talk about them when we talk about the 1800s and the electric motor. My students have put together a curriculum on engines, which you can find in our PDF on our website. But this is what you can do with AI too, is you can build tools to explain concepts to people based on things they enjoy. So lastly, let me leave you with some life applications with this. History and science should be taught together because the scientific discoveries don't happen in isolation. They happen in connection to other things happening in history. Euler's classmate was Daniel Bernoulli, who gave us Bernoulli's principle. And when you look at that piece of the story, you realize that Daniel Bernoulli actually helped Euler to get a job in Russia close to the time when Katerina the Great was queen. And you realize that, wait a second, connections matter, networking matters, taking opportunities matter. And Euler leads the charge in Russia. He revolutionizes math in Russia. He revolutionizes math in Berlin, in Germany. And then he went back again to Russia. And of course, Euler is from Switzerland, which we're going to visit on our tour. So that is the story of science and mathematics from 1524 to 1879. Because in 1879, James Clerk Maxwell died, the greatest electromagnetic physicist. And then we get basically Albert Einstein is born in 1879. This is crazy. Galileo died the year Newton was born. Einstein was born the year Maxwell died. And if you ask Maxwell whose shoulders you stand on, he says, I stand on the shoulders of Maxwell. So learn from the history of science because it'll help you be an exceptional student. And then from 1879, Einstein did his work. We have a whole video we're going to talk about. And then today, 2024, when you're enjoying AI, it's because of Joseph Fourier, the French mathematician. So you need to know about all these people and what they did. Newton and Fourier and Maxwell and Euler are the people responsible for why you're watching this video right now, and a few other people. Thanks for watching. Have a blessed day.